down with a controversial breastfeeding rule made another decision about nursing mothers tonight. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Colin Ruane. Last week we told you about Warrensburg planning to ban breastfeeding at city pools. Some people say the city legally can't do that. Tonight's city council decision doesn't change that decision, but changes nudity laws to support breastfeeding in public. KOMU 8's Spencer Wilson was at the council meeting and has more on the change.
The state of Missouri recently changed its nudity laws to protect women who were nursing children in public as long as it was decent. The city council's decision tonight means breastfeeding is no longer considered indecent exposure in Warrensburg, but the change in ordinance doesn't change part of the controversy. The city is still deciding whether or not it will allow mothers to breastfeed near swimming pools due to sanitation issues. The Parks and Rec Department concern is that babies will be spitting up in the pool. Virginia Campbell and her mother is a mother in Warrensburg and says that sanitation isn't an issue.
Sanitation, did you say? There's nothing any more pure or sterile than breast milk.
And so what the council did tonight has to do with general enforcement of indecent exposure within the city. But the rules applicable to parks facilities are set by the park board.
The vote to amend the nudity ordinance was approved unanimously. Reporting live in Warrensburg, Spencer Wilson, KOMU 8 News.
Well, while breastfeeding continues to cause some controversy there among mothers, there is no disagreeing about the new mystery illness sending hundreds of kids to the hospital.
NBC's Miguel Almaguer shows us what looks like the common cold can turn into something more serious.
In Kansas City, this is what doctors call ground zero of their outbreak. Some 500 patients, all kids like 4-year-old Callie Ann, have arrived at Children's Mercy Hospital with a respiratory virus.
She started out with coughing, not being able to stop.
With cold-like symptoms, fever, body aches, and coughing, up to 30 kids a day are arriving at this hospital. Many so sick, they've been placed in intensive care.
I was scared, and I knew this one was a really bad virus.
With children who suffer from asthma most at risk, doctors in Missouri suspect the outbreak is caused by enterovirus D68, a cousin of the common cold, likely spread at school and rarely seen in the U.S.
More children are going into our critical care unit from this virus than, say, any of the other respiratory viruses that we commonly see.
Children's Mercy isn't alone. States like Illinois and Ohio have outbreaks. In Colorado, more than 900 cases at Children's Hospital in Aurora. This morning, the CDC says 10 states are asking for help.
To be honest, I felt like I was going to die.
13-year-old Will Cornejo was airlifted to the ER when he couldn't breathe. His mother thought she was losing her baby boy.
He was unresponsive. He was laying on the couch and couldn't speak to me, was turning white and had blue lips.
With no deaths reported, today Will is making a full recovery. Back in Missouri, Callie Ann's doctors hope she'll be out of the hospital soon. A widespread virus that some doctors now call an epidemic. Yell out.
And while the virus is spreading throughout the region and Missouri, in Columbia, University Children's Hospital says it has not seen any cases. One doctor says if a child has cold-like symptoms, he or she should see a doctor.
If you're the parent and the child has a cough and a fever and doesn't feel well, the same point at which you would normally take the child to the doctor, you take them to the doctor for this and get assessed. Sometimes if the oxygen level gets low or if the person's particularly sick, they may need to be in the hospital for a few days.
Dr. Cooperstock says he expects the epidemic to pass in a month or two. He says simply use your common sense. Stay away from sick people, wash your hands, and keep your child out of school if he or she has a fever.
Looking for ways to cut down on violence in the community, Let's Talk KOMU held a community gathering at the Boone County Health Department today.
The task force invited members of the community to talk about their ideas and comment on the city's current programs and outreach. KOMU8's Jeffrey Millitzer is live at Douglas Park to tell us what the community had to say.
I spoke with a few of the community members at the meeting and here at Douglas Park earlier, and they all had mixed feelings about what the city should do. They did all have one thing in common, though. They want the city to do something.
Violence is nothing new in Columbia's troubled neighborhoods.
I think it's a very big problem because it affects everything. Violence itself is some kind of form of retaliation in some sort of fashion. So if we have violence going on, everybody is scared to get out into the community and engage with each other.
One of the main focuses of this meeting was to talk about what the community can do to help prevent violence.
There's a lot of really good-hearted people in there. They spent 2 hours of their afternoon, when they could have done anything else they wanted, to come here and talk about a subject about their own community. I think that's an indication in and of itself. There are people here who care, and they want to be involved.
The mayor of Kansas City gave advice on what he thinks would help curtail violence: a stronger family life, saying parents need to be more active in their children's lives to keep them on the right path. He also suggested getting together as a community more often may help prevent violence amongst neighbors.
At the meeting, what was stressed was getting together as a community to discuss issues that affect the public and the community. And here in Douglas Park, they're doing just that, right behind me.
For me, everything helps. Even an odd, we shall win. Everything helps us grow. But this really aided us as a community to move forward. And so it was a huge step.
Most of the participants in the meeting kept a positive attitude about the future for Columbia.
And all the bad is not always all bad. There's some good in everything, and sometimes we just don't get the reports of the good stuff. It's always the bad things that happen.
Let's Talk KOMU will be hosting another forum for parents and guardians at 7 p.m. Thursday at Progressive Baptist Church. Reporting live in Columbia, I'm Jeffrey Melitzer, KOMU 8 News.
Ferguson Police will get more public input soon. KSDK in St. Louis reports the Ferguson City Council will establish a citizen review board to provide oversight and guidance for the police department there. The City Council will officially announce the review board at tomorrow night's meeting.
One Boone County man's upset with how fast people drive in his neighborhood after a weekend car chase. Deputies were attempting to pull 25-year-old Sherman Collins over when he sped off and pulled onto Demerit Drive. Cedric Gordon was watching with his son and said the deputy was going about 50 miles per hour, which he thinks is way too fast. He says younger drivers are some of the most common speeders in the neighborhood.
We have a lot of younger crowd, a lot of younger people here, and I think they're pretty careless. You should be going through the neighborhood maybe 15, 20 miles an hour, and they're going through here about 40 miles an hour, it doesn't take a second for something bad to happen,
Gordon thinks speed bumps could solve a lot of the problems they have in the neighborhood. He says people shouldn't sit back and wait for something bad to happen. New incentives announced today are designed to encourage businesses to donate to the food bank. The State Department of Economic Development granted tax credits to 4 Missouri food banks and 1 food pantry. The state then gives the credits to businesses that donate to the selected organizations. The director of the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri says competition for the grants is steep.
We feel very relieved because it's never a guarantee, and there are a lot of wonderful organizations out there that are doing tremendous things, and we just feel very blessed.
The Columbia-based food bank received $250,000 in tax credits today. The bank serves 32 counties across the state of Missouri.
It's going to start feeling more and more like fall outside soon, so let's send it over to meteorologist Rosie Newberry to see what we can expect.
Thank you, Brittany. Today, perfectly average for this time of the year. Most of our top temperatures made it into the lower 80s. That means tonight we're also perfectly average, but we're looking at a little bit of increased cloud cover. That should be hanging around as we head into Tuesday morning. Overnight temperatures at coolest going to be into the middle 60s. Those leaves that you're starting to see fall on your screen are kind of an indicator of what's ahead. We have one more warm day. It's actually going to see an increase in temperatures tomorrow as chances of rain start to rumble into mid-Missouri, and then we're looking at a big midweek cool down. That means we're looking at way below average temperatures, for this time of the year as we head into this next weekend.